Hi guys, welcome to Threads Podcast, Life Unfiltered. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. We are sitting down, we as in Meaghan and I, and we are recapping Gabe's episode, which is the last one we recorded.
Aw, buddy.
Yeah. So the Gabe episode, if you haven't listened to that one, please listen to that before you listen to this, because this is a recap episode. Meaghan and I like to sit down once, or just kind of, it all depends on what the episode is. So I thought we were going to be consistent, but then we threw some other interviews in. So Meaghan and I sit down and recap an episode, and Ben and Andy do on occasion. So that's what we're doing here. The Gabe episode was just kind of a quick rundown on that. Gabe is our friend, and we like to interview people that have great stories, and Gabe has a great story. He dealt with addiction and, divorce and raising kids with special needs, and also, which was a shock to Ben, is becoming a male, but he is a transgender person.
There you go.
So yeah, that was super interesting, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about. Meaghan has 3 pages of notes, so it should be interesting.
I come prepared.
And I appreciate that.
Yes. So thank you for recapping. I don't remember from week to week what happens. So I think it's helpful to just give a quick recap to where we're at. So you've known Gabe a year?
Yeah, if you listen to the episode, how we talk about the memory, I mean, I still don't think it was me that met him at Founders.
Well, he remembers the guy without a beard, so
yeah, I mean, no, I didn't have the full beard, but I always had stubble we got married, I was clean shaved, but after that, I don't, maybe, but not during Uber time. I think I always had a beard, but anyways.
I don't remember how I meet people either.
I'm terrible. Like, Ben threw me under the bus, and I don't remember how I met Ben or Jesper or anybody. So
maybe you're just so memorable that they all remember meeting you. But that was my first thing. Like, are you always that like aggressive with people? That way Gabe remembers you talking to him? Like, oh.
Well, I think at the time I was trying to recruit for Lyft.
That's what I was wondering, because you were a recruiter for Lyft, right? Is that what it was called?
No, you were like a
mentor?
Yeah, a mentor. Yeah. So remember when I would schedule all those mentors at Tim Hortons, or those mentees, and I would get paid $20 or it was $10 or $20 per one. So I would try to get them all lined up. But yeah, that's how I met. What's his name? One of our other guy. Matt. That's right. But yeah, so
you could have said Unicorn Kitty. I don't know.
Right.
So yeah, and that's you guys started talking rideshare stuff, and I was like, boo, nobody knows what you're talking about.
Well,
I met initials here. Boo. Talk about it on your other podcast.
Man, you are spiking, girl. I tell you.
I can't hear myself in my headphones.
Okay, just back off from the mic a little bit.
Sorry.
Do you want me to turn you up?
Yes.
Does that help you a little bit?
It probably will make me quieter, yes.
Oh, I was looking at these huge spikes, so.
Well, I was yelling, boo. It should be loud.
Yeah, but you were coming in. So.
Okay. Hey, anyway.
I won't talk about tech.
Thank you, because you also did, which I was not going to mention until right now. You guys and your tech talk. I kept fast forwarding. I was going to make a note like 6 minutes in. You guys are still dawdling around about techie and this and the other.
No, we weren't.
Yes, you were.
Ben, which episode did you listen to? Because Ben edited a bunch of it out.
I must have gotten the unedited. Is that the Patreon account?
No, we don't have one of those for Threads.
All right.
Let's get back.
Let's get in.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not feeling well tonight, so if the energy isn't 100%, I just got a dirty look from Meaghan because I said, let's get into it.
Well, again, for those listening out there, if you had vision to see the face I'm getting of, hey, dum-dum, let's go back.
No, it wasn't a dum-dum thing. It was just like, let's get back on it.
Anyway, so Gabe has been over several times to do your other podcast about rideshare driving.
Yeah.
And so I know Gabe just a little bit from basically when anyone ever comes over to do your other podcast besides it's you, Ben, and then your friend Jesper. So it's 3 main guys. Anything one other than that, I usually at least try to make a point to say hi, so I'm not doing something weird when they come over. But
Right.
so I've seen Gabe a couple of times. Really nice guy. And then you told me he was transgender, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
But the more you share with me about Gabe, like he's just a really, really nice guy. And then hearing his story, I have a whole bunch of stuff in here about that, but just his story is not what I thought it was going to be.
No, I didn't. It shocked me too about the alcohol or not the alcohol, but
just a lot of his, addiction issues.
Yeah.
And because you've told me about his pain and we'll get into that. But the little things you have told me about it the whole time I was listening, just like shaking my head. What is happening? So to jump into it, Gabe he originally gotten a full ride to GVSU on a pre-med scholarship, which is insane to me that he's wicked smart. Super smart.
Why is that insane?
Because I don't know anybody that's got. Do you know anyone that's gotten a full ride to?
No, no.
It's just the level of intelligence. I think when you kind of hear how smart somebody is, and not that he doesn't speak intelligently, he speaks very well, and
he does, but he doesn't seem it's not a cut on him. He just doesn't seem like an intellectual.
Yeah, full. I mean, he got a full athletic ride, right? I'm suddenly not remembering if he got it for grades or if he got it
for grades.
Okay,
but then he also had something for track.
Okay, I
don't know. It was like,
but then he hurt himself.
Yeah,
okay.
I think it was discus or shot put or I don't know.
Yeah. So then I felt a connection with Gabe because he, I think he was a tech. He didn't say what role he played, but just that he worked for Resource, which I get. We have Resource techs that bounce around as well.
Yeah.
And we will make special requests if we have somebody that works really well
with
us. And I could see, I was like, yes, we would like scoop Gabe up in a second. And that he saw what he saw. He was like, no, I don't think I can become a doctor, which the first notes I wrote, I said, it's so good to figure that out early. There's so many people that go through it and then figure it out at the end. But then the more I thought about it, the more I thought what he saw, though, was so sad. His experience in the burn unit and the HEMOC unit was like the worst adult units ever.
Yeah.
And his experiences through that shaped that. But there's so much more to the medical field. There's so much more brightness to it than that. It takes special people to do burn unit. It takes special people to do oncology. But, I'm putting a plug in that maybe Gabe should go back to nursing school. He'd be a sweet ED nurse.
Yeah.
Just saying. But that, the fact that he was pre-med is nutso to me. And but his whole life took a whole different turn because I definitely have people who come in, I want to be a nurse, they get into it, they get 1 year in, they're like, nope, just kidding, not for me. Or I see so many times too.
You mean 1 year into the working life?
Yeah.
Come on.
Or the ones that, it's a really common West Michigan thing. We jokingly say you go to nursing school to get your MRS. So women will go to school.
What's the MRS?
To get your missus.
Oh.
So they will graduate, start, get married, all done with their nursing career. Like once they got married, they're like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Or they met their spouse and quit nursing school.
Well, I mean, I feel like everyone's, and not just in this community, but everyone's like, oh, you got to go to college. So they're probably like, well, I better go just get a nursing degree. But it's good to have backup. What happens if they get divorced?
It's true.
I mean, you never know.
Got to keep up your license though. But anyway, so.
Talk into the mic. Sorry. I'm just a stickler about that because you go to look at your notes and so you're talking like this. So okay. I'm sorry. Is there a way you can put your notes that you, whoopsies, probably should mute that. Hold on a second.
Is that something that will come through?
Yeah. So it's
no techie talk.
It
made a noise. There was a notification.
Yeah. Basically all the, actually, you know what? I don't think it will come through on, I don't know. I think it will, but
edit it out. All right.
Yeah, no editing.
Anyway, so more Gabe's story. Had one trajectory, went on to another one. Are you moving my notes? So
I'm just trying to figure out how you can best look at your notes and not go off mic.
Don't touch my notes.
I know I got a dirty look.
I was like trying to read and it's moving across the table. Help! Maybe it's this way. Now you got me all flustered. So when he started talking about how he started dating a woman 10 years older than him with kids who clearly was still living with her ex.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you doing?
That was a little weird.
But also doesn't surprise me, right? That Gabe is really, really nice and really giving. And
he's got a huge heart.
Probably just fell in love with her and was like, whatever, I can make this work, right? And I just, over the overarching thing I kept hearing out of Gabe was, I can't believe he fell in love with those kids too, and they became his kids. And he moved away, he came back, and still wanted to be a part of their lives.
Yeah, maybe I missed it. I knew that he was. So she was just living with this guy, but not. Well, their dad had died at 3, so
right.
It wasn't their biological dad, but she wasn't dating that guy. She was just there with him, right? And then started dating Gabe. Is that what you got?
That's what I got,
okay.
Yeah. And that the other people within the home still got decision-making over Gabe, who was dating. So I don't know the timeline of how long they were dating when that really shifted.
Yeah, I re-listened to that. I didn't quite catch that.
Yeah, the timeline's a little mushy for me, but, when the story also sounds slightly familiar because you were dating somebody when we met.
Shh, don't tell my dirty secrets.
But, and I may have done, I don't know if I would have started dating you with somebody else still in the house, but I just think some people are like, they love who they love and we're going to make this work. And
well, one of the stories that, and maybe this is not my place, but that Gabe didn't talk about is that, they were like pretty much separated and she lived in the house for
that's
a
right.
long time. And I kept encouraging him, like, man, you got to get her out. This is not good. And I know that was a stressful time for, he wasn't seeing anyone else, but she was.
Yeah.
Like, she was, I don't know, she definitely got some issues, but don't we all? But hopefully, we talked about her mom being disappointed about her and just being like, it is what it is. I can just hope and wait that they might change their ways, but so.
Well, I just keep thinking about the kids, and I know that Gabe has a closer relationship with his daughter than his son. But just to have this guy come in, well, when he first came into their lives, he was not a man, though.
Yeah.
And moved away, but then came back a whole different person, but still wanted to be a part of their lives, right?
Yeah.
And, hell or high water, you just can't help yourself, can you? Having my mic adjusted.
I just taking care of you, baby.
Oh, you're such a sweet man. Hell or High Water was going to be a part of their lives that missed them while he was gone, but knew he needed to get away to figure this out, that he wasn't going to be able to not only just transition, going from female to male, but all the stuff that went along with it and all the loss he was experiencing. And he had gotten, he had addiction issues and all of that, and just needed to go away, figure it out, come back. And when he came back, that was a priority, was to get back in those kids' lives. And I just think if I entered into a relationship with somebody who already had kids, we broke up, I left for 5 years, would I come back to? It's not just coming back to the kids, it's coming back to that person.
I think it was 3 years, but either way.
Oh, I thought he had said he was
Yeah, I thought
5.
it was 5 too, but then I think he corrected me.
Even 6 months, I don't know if I could come back to that, into that person's life, because it's not just the kids. You got to take the other person, right?
Yeah.
You got to have that be a part of your life. And I don't know if I could do it.
Yeah, I don't understand that, what his draw was to that. He's a nice person, like, just like you said, you're super nice too, but I don't know if you would be like, okay. I went through this huge life change, and now I'm like, all right, I want to be back in those kids' lives. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
And maybe he just saw that
it wasn't good.
They needed it. It wasn't good.
Yeah.
And he knew them. Like, maybe if he came back and everything was just beautiful with which wasn't going to happen with the mom and everything like that, he may have been less likely to do it. But, Gabe sees the need, and he's like, okay, I see a need. I need to fix it.
Yeah. He's very giving in that way. And if you bond with the kids, though, and you're thinking about them and their life's not getting any better while you're gone, then I can see how he would want to move back. But I think that story is very rare, especially when it comes to be sexist, when it comes to men, right? The expectation for you to stay in the relationship is not nearly what it is for women. When women leave a relationship, I think it's viewed very differently than when a man walks away.
Well, especially if it's a biological.
Yes.
For a woman, and it's even if it's biological for a guy, it's less that it's not looked as bad.
Mm-hmm.
So in full disclosure and Threads Life Unfiltered, I walked away from a child.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was married to my ex, she already had a kid, Taylor, and I think when we got together, she was like 5 or 6. And so I just kind of started, we had Nolte, and then I just started raising her as my own. I did not adopt her. But a year, maybe 2 years before we got divorced, Taylor had a brain aneurysm in the middle of the night and became pretty much 100% handicapped. Mentally, physically, the whole 9 yards. So, when I got divorced, it was tough. For a while there, I was taking Taylor on the weekends, but I had no legal right to her.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know. I should look. I'm trying to think back to, I want Birdie down here, but then he starts snoring.
I don't hear him at all.
Okay, good. So I don't remember if it was in the order. I think it was, but it just got too much.
The court order, you mean?
Yeah, the court order. She was not legally mine. And I feel to this day super guilty about that. But my ex was so volatile and so hurtful. And it just got too much for me to take. Taylor, she's 100% handicapped. Like, there was wheelchairs and meds, and not that I couldn't do it, but I just didn't have a lot of skills at that time, and I could barely function as a father to a normal kid,
right?
Let alone somebody that was 100% handicapped. So I don't know.
Different strokes, different folks, right? The situation you were in, you weren't living at home. You were living with your parents for a bit.
Yeah,
and then your grandma.
Yeah.
Your parents are not super supportive of you. Your parents are not super supportive of your parenting. And I saw that as you were 28 when we met, 27. And I saw that right away, that they love their grandkids, but the street doesn't go both ways all the time in that. And I just think for a long, long time, there was a lot of manipulation, and Nolte was a pawn in a lot of that. There was times when he was not given to you. And I just, looking back, I think had you tried to stick it out and be a consistent part of Taylor's life, I think it would probably have become a safety issue for her, because I can just see her being manipulated in a way that you wouldn't be given information, or you wouldn't be giving something that would be vital to take care of her so that she could be taken away. Because that's all our time was, I feel like, with Nolte, was if anything went wrong, he had a bruise, he had whatever, it was always a big, big deal. And I just think you were, what, 25? And that's young. I'm not saying, I just don't think, what other decision were you going to make?
Yeah, at the time too, and try not to get too far off topic, Too
late.
I couldn't spend any time with Nolte.
Yeah. Well, because you had to work
for Taylor, in which I was happy to do it. I mean, I have a giving heart too, and I want to help and do those things, but I don't ever ended up knowing how it happened, and I hope to talk to Nolte at some point and to just to talk to him. We haven't really. I mean, he's finishing up school, so it's at some point he's definitely matured. But I just want to talk to him and say, I loved her. It's just it was tough.
Yeah.
I don't remember how it ended. I think it was just like I just can't do this anymore, and I for sure got hell for it for a long time. So
yeah. Well, and you also can't look at that through your 43-year-old lens either. You're very different. You've worked a lot of stuff out that you absolutely didn't have then. But
I don't know if I would have made a different decision. I look back at it now and it's just, I do feel guilty, but I don't know. You just can't ever know because it didn't happen. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know what else to say about it.
I'm trying to think of how to transition out, and I don't know how. So moving on.
We digress.
So Gabe just talks a lot about how he ended up having addiction issues, first by blowing out his knee, and then stupidly hurt his back, which made me cringe the whole time. He was talking about herniating his disc and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, when I do the episodes, I miss so much, and I was listening today, and I was cringing a little bit too when I was describing that sled coming back towards the.
I know, just the thought of hurting your back, just gives me the heebs.
Yeah.
Nope. And then talked about having to go to the pain clinic, and then he ended up at a pain clinic that was a pain pushing. Clinic, and that frustrates me.
I feel like most of them are.
I know. I think they're getting better because they have to.
Well, here's the thing, I mean, when you're going to the pain clinic, you're pretty much at your wit's end. If you can't get through rehab, physical therapy. I mean, I don't blame them. I don't feel like they're pushing pills, but when you're going to the pain clinic, what else are they doing there? I mean, they're providing a service. You need pain pills, as long as you're following in this parameter. That's why I don't really blame like a pain clinic, as long as they're doing their due diligence. If they're just, you're in there for 3 minutes and they're writing you a opiate prescription, then you're like, okay, that's not right. But if you've made sure that this patient has exhausted all the other options, then I think they're just providing a service. It's just like cash advance or McDonald's. I mean, they're just providing a
windowless van.
Well, what I'm saying about the cash advance is like it preys on poor people, but they are providing a service. I don't know. Maybe that's not a good.
Terrible.
I mean, what can I correlate that?
I don't think there's anything to correlate it to. My frustration is if you are a pain clinic, that means you have people there that specialize in pain. And chances are you've been perhaps seeing specialists, but you had some back issues and you ended up at the pain clinic.
Mm-hmm.
And you went through a physician for a while and you tried chiropractor, you tried PT, you tried all that. But there wasn't somebody that was overarching looking at a plan for your pain specifically.
Until I went to Mary Free Bed.
Until you went to the pain clinic. I think to me, that's what they're there for. Yes, you may get to the point of needing harder meds, but we should look at.
Well, yeah, I want to clarify though, like Mary Free Bed is different from the pain clinic. The pain clinic was where they just gave me drugs. Mary Free Bed was just like a whole rehabilitation kind of thing.
Right.
So when you said that you went to the pain clinic, well, I went to both. I went to one that a lot of people go to, and then I went to Mary Free Bed.
Yeah. I guess I thought that they were but they were part of each other.
They were completely separate.
You can just straight up walk to the pain clinic and go get.
Well, I got a referral from my primary care.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah. And I will say they never pushed opiates on me.
That's good.
They never.
Probably because you weren't taking hard enough stuff to get to opiates.
Well, and I was being honest with my pain. I wasn't been like, I'm at a 10. I never said that. They always ask. I'm like, I'm at like a 4. And then we talk about it. And he's like, all right, let's try these shots in your back. And so, but anyways.
Yeah. But it's always infuriating to hear when people, especially young people, that don't. necessarily have all the life experience to say yes or no, and just trust that, like, I want my pain taken away. Let's do this. I'm ready. And then, good Lord, he took it in the whole other direction.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying that his doctor didn't push it. I'm there. It's still happening, but it is starting to get,
because it has to.
Yeah, it's getting out of control. So, yeah. But anyways, yeah,
Yes.
that's crazy.
But the fact that he went on methadone is insane.
Yeah,
That's hardcore.
mm-hmm.
But I'm glad he, struggled, started drinking, did coke, which is, I could hear that from upstairs. So where you guys do the podcast, if I sit in a certain point in the living room, I can hear what's happening. Usually I try to drown it out because I want to be surprised. Like
I'm surprised
everybody
you
else.
heard him because he's such a
He
quiet.
said, I just heard cocaine. And I was like, what are they talking about down there? But that part was really surprising to me. Just that he didn't kill himself doing all that. That's so much reckless behavior. And
it's amazing what you can put your body through.
I know.
I mean, even fart cannon.
Oh, our Boston farts all the time.
It
He's
smells-
disgusting.
It smells exactly like his dog food, and we get to smell it twice when we put it in his bowl, and then when we call him our fart cannon.
He is a fart cannon. Yeah, there's a rule at dinner time that Brutus cannot eat at the same time as the family because
The food
Avery
stinks.
and Jason can't handle their lives.
I mean, it's okay. It's very fragrant.
What?
Is that a word? Fragrant?
Nope.
When was something smell?
Fragrant.
Fragrant.
Fragnant.
No, I said fragrant.
No, you didn't. You're so cute.
Um,
Thank God you're handsome.
yeah, right.
So yeah, he kind of talked about that, and then basically was leading up to why he felt he had to leave, the things that led up to that, and that he really needed to go away and
He did
come
it
back.
perfect. I mean, if you were going to do that perfect, I mean, like the transition, he's like, I mean, he went down there to do it and then came up and I mean, it was probably for his mental well-being because he's like, oh, I'm just going to go down there where no one knows me and I can do my thing. And I don't know. I just thought it was great.
Yeah. So he went and had his gender reassignment surgery in Texas.
Yeah.
And then came back, probably, I don't know the timeline of, did he get
No.
it as soon as he went down? I mean, I don't know that part. But and hearing him talk about the support he received in Texas was really interesting to me.
Yeah.
It's a little sad that West Michigan is super more judgmental about LGBTQ issues than Texas.
Well, yeah. I mean, we don't really know. We're not down there.
No.
So.
That's true. In my head, I just picture, a Texan being judgy.
No, I don't think they're judgy. They're just like their guns and small government.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I look at with Texas. I don't look at them as being judgmental. I look at them, they might be a little racist.
Well, I mean,
just because that's the South is kind of
sure.
That's what it is. But I don't look at them being like, I don't know. I just don't.
I just think that if you're racist, you probably also have issues with homosexuality. Just tends to go hand in hand,
Yeah.
I find. But yeah, how he talked about the support he got from his job and the support,
Yeah.
did he rehab in Texas or he rehabbed here? I think it was here because his mom was with him a lot, right?
I don't know. I feel bad. I don't remember that.
I tried to.
That's when you bounce all around like we do. It just happens. You miss stuff.
Yeah, but that basically he went through rehab, and his job was really supportive. It was Michigan because Michigan has the law where if you're trying and you don't relapse, you can stay employed.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to know that. I'm sure not all jobs are that way.
I said it was a state law.
Well, I don't know if a nurse or a doctor, I don't know if all jobs, if that applies to all jobs.
I guess it probably is because they get sued. You know what I mean? Like you're leaving for a medical reason and then you don't get your job back.
Yeah, I guess it would apply to medical people.
I just wonder if it's just different than FMLA. But
yeah.
the double-sided?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
This is more what I wrote down is more like of a rendition of what happened.
Okay.
so I can keep on task. Don't make fun of my notes.
No, I'm not making fun of it. I was just
rude. So transitioned in Texas and then came back. So I don't know what Gabe's name was before he transitioned, but Gabe left, came back Gabe, and again, mad props for exiting stage left, coming in stage right.
Yeah.
Well, new guy.
But he does talk about how stealthy still is.
Yeah.
I mean, so it wasn't like he came back and was like, hey, everybody.
No, I get that because when we're finding more and more people are coming out, I think, as it becomes more socially acceptable, right? So you may know more gay people in your life. Still very few of them are transgendered.
Yeah.
And so I can get why he doesn't want to be the poster child for...
Well, I just love, and I brought that up in the podcast, I love that he's just not hanging his hat on it. It's just like, this is just part of my life, like how I go to work and how I do this stuff. Because we all know the people, and not just gay or transgender, but just anything in life, like Republican, like they hang their hat on it, and or liberal. It's like
anything.
It's like a ride or die. You know what I mean? And he doesn't do that, and I super appreciate that, just because he just wants to do his thing.
Yeah, like, and there are some people that are out and loud, and there are some people that are just out and proud. He's not going to deny who he is, but he's not going to. So a gal I work with, who I'm friends with, Jaleesa, is...
This is Avery Thierry speaking. Thank you so much for listening to Threads podcast, Life Unfiltered. Please rate, review, and subscribe to my dad's podcast. I hope you enjoy hearing future episodes. If you like what you're listening to, don't forget to listen to their other podcast, Dear Rideshare Adventures. Have a great day, Thread listeners.
Black and gay, and she does not want to be known as the black gay girl in the hospital. Unfortunately, she is, because she is not out and loud, but she makes no qualms about it, and she just kind of wasn't a big announcement. She came out a couple of years ago, and she'll post like, in a relationship with my girlfriend, and she will discuss, just like how you and I would have a normal, how was your weekend? Great. My girlfriend and I went out, and doesn't hide it, but doesn't feel the need to announce it either.
Well, but in that case, though, you're at work. I mean, that's a different thing. You shouldn't be, I don't know. Is it anyone's business? Like, you're just there to do a job. No one should give two shits if you're gay, straight, bi. Just let's get work done. You know what I mean?
Well, she shouldn't say I went out with my girlfriend.
No, that's fine.
Oh,
no.
Oh, you mean being like out loud?
Yeah, like your place of employment is not to hang your hat on
anything.
I mean,
true.
It's just, you're there to do a job, and it doesn't matter if you're black, white, racist, a bigot. Just, you've got to save the baby. You save the baby. Like,
it's true. No, I agree. I don't want to hear about your essential oils. I also don't want to hear about.
Well, I mean, I guess if you are racist, that's a problem, because if you have a black baby, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, you shouldn't hang your hat on anything at work. So
yes,
but no, that's cool. That,
yeah, but I do appreciate that as well, that there's a big mix out there, and that Gabe could be somebody who, like, if Gabe were in my life, for instance, as somebody that I knew, if somebody was struggling with, I just came out, I don't know what to do, I think Gabe would be a great resource. Not that I'm going to start directing people to you, Gabe, don't worry. But that kind of a person who just wants to live authentically and be just how they want to be, and not be labeled, and not be anything that it's just Gabe. I love that.
I peer pressure him into like telling a story, but I know it's his right not to, but I'm just like, man.
It's just because look at the way he psychoanalyzed Ben. The whole end of it, I was like, this is amazing. Gabe needs to be on this podcast all the time.
What do you mean?
So Ben had talked about kind of how he struggles with talking. So he was talking to Gabe about the biology, his biological father, and why he felt the need.
Blood,
just blood, and the blood connection, and blood family versus a family you choose, and how I believe I wrote the quote.
Wote.
I wrote it.
You're so woke.
That Ben kind of felt like he needed to accept the fact that it would have been better if his kids had been left with their biological parents, and that that's not how life worked out for them. So he just kind of stepped in, and then Gabe was like, no.
Well, I remember that listening to that today. I think Ben meant in a healthy parent relationship. I don't think Ben meant regardless of craziness. I think he meant it's better for the parents and the child to be in the same home if it's a healthy family atmosphere. Because he's not here to clarify, but in the moment you don't think of that stuff. But when I listen to it, I'm like, Ben wouldn't. I mean, maybe he thinks that way, but I can't imagine he'd be like, yeah, I want you to be with your parent regardless if your parents are crazy.
I disagree.
Really?
What I think he was going with, based off of the last podcast that you and Ben had together about trauma brain and talking about their kids, and you and I unpacked that episode together too. I think Andy and Ben have done a bunch of research on trauma-induced care, on what trauma does to kids, what trauma, and there are a lot of studies out there that show that kids staying with their biological parents in an unsteady, not unsafe, but in an unsteady environment still do better overall than kids that go into foster care. They've done a ton of studies on it. So that's why from like our standpoint, we send, when we have drug addicted parents, so their babies go through withdrawal, they usually still take them home because it's still statistically better. Those babies will still do better with them. There's a biology link that nobody can really explain, like, here's what it is and here's how it goes.
Yeah, but what's the definition of unsteady? Because going back home to a crack mom, I would not fall in the unsteady
They
category.
don't go home if it's unsafe. So if a parent is in a methadone program, right, they're trying to get off of street drugs, if they're making the effort, just like how Gabe, if you go back to your job and you make the effort, you can keep your job. If you're making the effort, you can have custody of your kids.
Well, it's a little different going back to your job, making the effort, and
I'm just
raising
letting
a
you
child.
know how it works. So I'm wondering if that's what Ben means by that. Just understanding that on some level that biologically would it have been. But I completely disagree. And I just loved how, but back to that's where Gabe, I can see why you want Gabe to share his story so much, because he took Ben. He's like, no, you don't give yourself enough credit. And what is your definition of family? I was sitting there going, this is amazing. Do Jason next. Yeah. Like Dr. Phil, only way better. I shouldn't compare him to Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil sucks.
I don't know. I heard him on Joe Rogan's podcast.
He's on Joe Rogan?
Yeah, he was on Joe Rogan's podcast. It was really good.
Oh,
He's a really good guy. What you see on TV is so much different.
I don't think he's a bad guy. I just think his show just
his voice is a
painful.
little it's a little too nasally for me.
It's all southern and ridiculous. Anyway, so I can see why you want Gabe to share a story. I like that.
I was just looking at time.
I know you've looked at it several times.
No, I'm not just looking at time. I'm just looking at levels too.
Okay. All right. But, fast forward, Gabe goes through all of that, still wants to be part of his kids' lives, ends up taking sole custody of his now daughter, who is not even like close to biologically being his, that he stepped into. It's crazy. And then that path clearly had an end. Like from beginning to end, there was an end for Morgan to have a consistent caregiver in her life. And I loved Gabe's story. And so my question for you is, so if you met Gabe right now, would just interacting with him very briefly, looking at him, would you be surprised he'd been to rehab?
No.
Would you be surprised to hear his story about his kids?
Wait. So rehab, yes. Let me go back. I was surprised that he went to rehab.
No.
Oh.
If you had just met him, first meeting, you learn he'd been to rehab, would that surprise you? Just looking at him. I'm talking.
Yes.
It would surprise you?
Yes.
would it surprise you that what he had gone through to be a part of his kids' lives?
Yes.
So where I'm going with that is that
because if I just met him, I don't know him. But now that I know how nice he is,
we can't read into the question.
Okay, well, it's weird.
So where I'm going with that is that, on Threads, you guys talk about being authentic and how Facebook is so ridiculous. And I just think if you walked by Gabe on the street, he's kind of introverted, right? Like, I don't know if he would greet you. I don't know if he would smile at you. And he's got the piercings. And once you talk to him, super, super nice. But you see that first impression. And I think people make snap judgments. And it just goes to show that to give grace and let people do their thing, because you don't know. You don't know what they've been through. You don't know what they're doing. Yeah, I'm raising my special needs daughter, OPS, who's not mine. And
so what you're saying is you judge Gabe because he has piercing and tattoos?
Nope, not even close.
I think you.
Wow.
Well, you're asking like
I was just curious because we do that as people.
Yeah.
If you see somebody who's kind of got a little bit of a messy look,
that's
right?
True.
If I saw
don't know
you
their story
yesterday when you hadn't showered in 4 days, right?
It was 3.
It was 4.
It was not.
But you were out doing something and one of our neighbors is having a party and a guy took one look at you and your tattoos and locked his car, right? So we get that all the time. And I just think if people just took it down a peg and you just don't know anybody's story.
Yeah.
And that was more where I was going with it. Not, no, I don't judge because of
I honestly still don't know where you were going with it, but I do and I don't. I just think you're basically saying in general, people that might not look clean cut, you just don't know what they are.
Well, and that the people who look amazing and perfect on a Sunday might go home and beat the crap out of the kids, right?
Yeah.
That Facebook family that always wears matching outfits, you don't know what happens not on Facebook. And to compare your life to somebody who seems amazing is a very poor way to go about life. Whereas you have this other example potentially that you might see Gabe's Facebook and you're like, I like this blonde family over here.
No.
And meanwhile, he's doing a really good job and putting good out. And yeah, that was that. That was terrible, by the way.
Just telling you what I felt.
Okay. So moving on. I want to talk about the big reveal to Ben, right? Or lack thereof, as I put it. Because I think Gabe said it too. He's like, I thought you'd react more. So my question to you was, I know how you reacted because you came home and you were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Blown away. So when Gabe told you, other than you almost dropped your phone, right? I know you and I talked about it. Just you kind of start reeling back to interactions you had with that person and thinking, oh my gosh, right? Like, have I said anything? Have I done anything that would potentially offend this other person? And I think we landed on no. You generally offend people for funsies. So
yeah, but not like that kind of stuff.
No, not that kind of stuff. And it got me thinking, and I think Gabe or you or Ben or you asked Gabe.
Well, it was one of the 3.
Somebody at this table asked about while he, was feeling that he potentially could be transgender and then transitioning, coming back, did he hear people making comments?
That was me asking.
Okay.
And he said no.
And he said no, which makes me wonder if he just doesn't listen for it. Because I feel like once we had Sully, hearing people say anything about special needs, I was in a meeting today and someone's like, well, that's retarded. I was like,
You're
did
kidding
you
me.
say that word?
And again, I think if you say that, it's your right. I listen to Joe Rogan and he says that word and it doesn't bother me. Well, no, I take that back. It does bother me, but I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Sure.
But my friends, different story.
Well, you're not going to email Joe Rogan. He's going to be like, oh, thanks, Jason. Thanks for pointing that out.
Right, but I'm just saying I understand that I don't like this new, we can't say these words. But I understand it. Mm-hmm. I understand if it really hurts somebody's feelings, then we probably shouldn't. Just like we talked about the word fag. Like I used to call my friends fags all the time, but it wasn't because I was derogatory to gay people. It was just, that's what we did. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, I was just surprised he hadn't heard anything, because I would be like,
he runs with a pretty little tight circle too.
yeah, and I think he's just, I mean, he is a good person. I think he looks for good out of everyone, where I'm tuned into, like, I'm going to sniff out your bullshit all the time until I know you and trust you. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done sniffing it out. But
yeah, but I mean, it's encouraging that he doesn't hear that, because I'm sure there's plenty of opportunity where he could. But I also think, from your and I perspective, that when it's a part of your life, when you hear it, it means something different to you. And I think the people that potentially use that language don't have someone in their life that would be offended by that. So they don't really just know that would, I mean, you should know the word retarded is not a nice word, but it is a part of a movement to get rid of that word. And if you don't have someone in your life who has special needs,
but in the same scope, it's just a stupid word. Like, it's just like using the word, like I said before, it's just, you're just calling somebody stupid. You're not insulting the person that's mentally challenged. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. We digress. But yeah, I was waiting for it upstairs. I could hear, all I heard was Gabe say, and Ben, you don't know this, and I muted the TV. I was like, it's time. You're terrible.
It's time.
You're not supposed to listen to. That's why I want to get my my door in here so it'll block.
You're not the boss of me. I can listen to what I want to.
Well, until I get the door.
Touche. And I thought there'd be some little Ben soundbite. I didn't get one.
No.
I think he was thinking about that one. I mean, everybody reacts differently, and I believe those who are introverted introvert that real big time. Just like take it inside.
Right. And he's not a super, like, I probably dropped a bunch of F-bombs. Yeah. You know what I mean? And he would never do that regardless.
Yeah.
Unless, like, there was an emergency or something. He's just not the excitable guy. Yeah. That's okay.
Well, he doesn't like surprises either. I mean, look how the Office thing went down.
Yeah, that was terrible. Well, you know what? We were supposed to. I totally flaked on that. I was supposed to.
I thought about it, but how do you play Office trivia when you had this amazing interview with Gabe? And
I don't know. I wanted that. Yeah,
we can still play it when we're all done. Not on the podcast.
I was gonna say I have nothing ready. So,
but overall, I think you had said you felt like this was one of your best.
Yeah,
podcasts.
I really enjoyed listening to it. I just like talking to people with cool stories. Mm-hmm. I mean, I shouldn't say it's a cool story. Just to hear what they've battled from and what they've become, And so it was just really interesting. And I was, selfishly hoping that it would shock Ben.
Gotcha.
But I mean, it shocked me, and it took me like a week to be. Not that I wasn't cool with it, but just to kind of process through it and be like, wow, I don't understand what it is. I mean, I obviously, literally, I understand what it is, but just like someone being gay or a lesbian or even racist, you know what I mean? I don't get it, but I don't accept the racist part. I don't know why I keep bringing that up.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm racist. No, it just took me time to process, but I went right back to being like, I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
I call him dude all the time, and that's all I know. I think it would be much harder if it was the other way. Mm-hmm. And I think you would always in the back of your mind, because you can see the visual, like you never really forget what someone looks like for the most part.
Sure.
I mean, I can picture a ton of my high school friends, what they look like back then. Not all of them, but it would be the same thing. It would be a lot tougher of a transition. Fart got me. It's funny how sometimes you smell it first and sometimes I do.
Because you kicked him and he moved.
I know I did kick him because he was snoring really loud.
Oh, it's right.
It's pointed right at me.
No, it's pointed right at me.
Yeah, as I said, pointing right at you, I meant.
Moved back and there he is. Ugh. Yeah, well, I think you also got the benefit of being told over Telegram, right? Versus face to face.
Oh gosh, if it was face to face, I would.
You probably would have fallen out of your chair. But I think because when you already like the person, have respect for that person, you don't want to come across as you're being so surprised, because that's what I said too. Like what Gabe had said, people were like, I didn't even know, I couldn't even tell. Like that's not what they want to hear.
Oh, but that's what I said.
That's exactly what I said too. I said, that high voice, I knew it, right? Like I didn't know it, but I said, I know somebody who is a male who's a high talker, like on the Seinfeld episode, and I was like, that's a bummer.
Yeah,
that's a bummer to be a high talker. And
I disagreed with you when you said that. I'm like, I mean, I guess it's a little. I mean, compared to mine, yeah.
No, it's once I listen to the podcast, it's also soothing. Like Gabe should read books on tape.
No,
legit.
No.
But yeah, same thing. And realizing in my reaction that you just don't want to offend that person. They've trusted you with this thing, and you don't just want to.
I think it's a compliment. I mean, clearly he's done the work needed to do what he needed to do.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I would encourage you, if you have questions too, and he seems open to questions. When my friend at work, Jaleesa, told me that she was gay. And when I met her, she was in a super long-term relationship with a man. So we went out to coffee one day and she's like, by the way, I am gay. What? And I sat there and I had to think, and then I have questions for you. She's like, okay. And she was cool with me asking questions, and it just helped me to figure some things out, because I was just so worried about saying something offensive. I just didn't want to.
Really?
Yeah, now I know it's outwardly offensive, but just being careful. And for me, because I just want to know a lot about it, if I have somebody, it's a work thing. Like I had a new nurse who came out, and I'm like, oh crap, I don't know what to do with you, right? I don't know how to help you. So then I'm coming to her. She's like, I don't want to be your token gay person. I'm like, you have to. I don't know what to do.
Everyone, yeah, you got your
I have no
your
resources.
Token Jew, your token, black guy, your token, yeah,
for sure. But yeah. So poor Ben had to do it.
I just hope that if somebody, I just always expect somebody to call me out if I offend them, and they don't, and it sucks. Because I do it and then I don't realize it, and then I hear about it 3 weeks later. I'm like, WTF? Like, why didn't you just say that you offended me? And I would be like, oh, I'm really sorry. And I know everyone's not like that, but
very few people actually welcome constructive criticism in the way that you do.
I welcome it if I've offended you or if I've disrespected you.
Yes.
I can't say I welcome it all the time when you're critiquing.
Well, sure. Nobody likes the unsolicited on something we're not. Yeah. But I think when people are offended, it's the hardest thing to come back and tell someone, because they've already pissed you off.
Right.
And now you have to tell them they pissed you off. And most people are then concerned about what happens after you tell them. You will take it. Sorry. I know. My bad. And you will work on fixing it and be done with it. But it's really hard for other people to get into that space. So, Sorry, Charlie.
Yeah, if anyone knows me, if I piss you off, just tell me. Jesper and I went through this too. And I just said, hey, man, you got to work on this. And I got to work on being more, not respectful, but more thinking about what I say, even though I'm joking and joshing, that it still might hurt somebody's feelings.
Yes.
I guess that's what I'm saying. But anyways.
Anyway, so that's really all I had. I thought it was what? What's that face?
We got all these notes down. Did we kind of just go through it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I loved the end. Just really Gabe helping Ben walk through some of his feelings on.
It was really good.
And I think a lot of what I was hearing from Ben was that, Miracle obviously is not visually part. When you look at their family, that Miracle was probably not born to them, right?
Probably. And they're the honkiest people out there.
Well, could have been born to one of them, although she's really dark skinned.
Yeah.
But Gabe made such a good point that it's probably not what you think. And I think Ben struggles with that stuff and overthinking things and having just kind of a little bit of that nagging center of him that's like, you're not good enough, right? Like, these are all the ways that you should be better. And so I think he assumes people view their family or view what's going on and are thinking the same thing as he's thinking deep down. And I think that's got to be tough. But they're only 18 months into less than 2 years of having Miracle as a part of their family. And some of the things that Gabe had said too, where he feels like he has to explain a story on the age of his kids. I went through that. I finally just dropped it. People want to do the math because Nolte and I are 14 years apart. So if people want to do the math and think I had a baby at 14, then that's fine. They can ask me about it. But I'll always say I have kids who are 22, 11, and 9.
Yeah.
And if they have a follow-up question, then great.
If not,
then great. The only time I ever explain that I'm not Nolte's biological mom is if I'm discussing something that has to do with something
medical.
Weird, like he lives with his mom, which he does right now, right? So if there's something to that degree, or that I can't get access to this or the other thing, that's the only time I ever explain him. But it took me a really long time because I felt like I didn't want people to I didn't care. I mean, I wanted them to think he was mine, but not that I had him at 14 because nobody wants to be judged that way. But eventually you have that F it moment, whatever. And I think Ben will get there. He will get there with
I'll be honest with you. I would be the same way as Ben. I would be constantly looking at people. I'm like, you got a problem? Like, because I feel like that's part of it that he didn't really focus on, but I feel like he says it so eloquently because that's just Ben. But NPR Ben. But I would be the same way as him. Like, what are you staring at? What's your problem?
Well, and interesting that he gets it from the Black community,
which
makes more sense. I agree.
And it's interesting that Tim, one of our super fans, brought up about if it was a boy, and it's true, it probably isn't judged as much as a girl. But I feel bad that he feels like he's got to do her hair before they go. You know what I mean?
That will go away.
I know. It is so new to them.
It's new, and you're taking all of that potential criticism or real criticism, and you are taking it all to heart. I mean, you're already, I mean, with the struggles they have, they're already not feeling like they're doing a good enough job. Right. Which, let's be real, we all feel like we're not doing a good enough job. And then to be judged and then constantly feel judged. And I think Ben is looking at it from someone looking at his family and seeing clearly you have adopted a child. I think he assumes people think, oh, does your wiener not work? Or like, why did you adopt that child? That's almost what they wouldn't say that. Most people look at and say, oh, you adopted a kid. Cool. And I think that's where it really stops for most people. But I think Ben worries that they know that there's something wrong. Like he and Andy couldn't have kids because that's a really big deal that he shared super, super early in Threads, and how hard it is for him to hear when people are announcing pregnancies and gushing all over that, and how hard it is for him to deal with that. I got the feeling that he feels a little bit judged, like they're wondering why they had to adopt a kid. And I think it's so commonplace right now. They don't think people judge the way he thinks they are judging.
But there are a lot of white knight people that do that. You hate to be like critical of somebody that's adopting a child, but
there's that too. But there's stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
You're gonna get bad seeds, and
there are. I know of a family who adopts special needs kids, and they potentially just do it for money. We know it, but nobody else is going to take those kids that are stuck in wheelchairs with vents and horrible medical needs, and at least they're going to a home. Yeah. Right. And you know the way they're doing it. But then there's another family that adopts kids because they love those kids, right? There's two different families that want to adopt them. And so, but you know, it'll get better, you know? And
I always just, it's interesting. Ben and I talk every day, pretty much. Not as much on the weekends, but you forget what's going on. Like I'm just like, what's the big deal? It's just your kid. Like, but it's not. It's different. It's their adjustment. It's a girl. She's going through. She's a tween, and you know, there's so many more different levels. And she's wondering why her mom doesn't want her or whatever. And so they're doing it regardless. I mean, they're doing a good job.
They are.
I think they're doing a great job.
You start to realize what you need to explain to people and when you need to explain it and when you don't. And we do that with Sully all the time. He's being soups weird somewhere. Sometimes I feel it rise up that I need to
I feel it every single
him.
time.
And then so many times I think, well, what good will that do? Will they suddenly have more empathy? You should have empathy anyway.
Well, I mean,
clearly there's something wrong with him when he's being super weirdo or flappy or act, you know, he gets really weird sometimes. And I love him for it. And sometimes I do see people watching him and I want to explain it to him. And I just think, nope.
It all depends on the situation.
Sure.
If he ends up getting close to a kid's face or an adult awkwardly, then you're like, oh, sorry, he has autism. Sometimes he has trouble with personal space. But other than that, every single time I want to, but I just let it ride.
And I used to.
Yeah.
I announced to his whole floor hockey team that he was autistic because Wayne Gretzky dad was being a dick.
That was pretty aggressive.
But then I sobbed all the way home about having to tell everybody that he was autistic.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, he liked the hockey stick as a witch's broom and wore the coat like a hat. What's wrong with that?
I mean, it's pretty
Wayne Gretzky dad. You had a problem with my kid?
It's pretty legit.
But wrapping it all back up, I love Gabe's perspective, and he just takes it all in stride. And listen, Gabe, if you want to get back into teching, I know someone that's hiring. I'll transition you to a nurse. Just go back to school. Be fine.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for our faithful fans out there. Sorry if I didn't have a ton of energy through this one. I've had this killer headache all day, and so I'm not sure. I think what it is I always get the atmosphere transitions when now it's like not humid today. Mm-hmm. Just those big fronts that come in and out just really kick my ass. So
did you drink enough water?
I did. This is my second one.
That's not enough water.
Well, I mean, it's not even that hot today, so.
Okay.
I hate when you say that, by the way. Like everything. Avery said it today. Dad, did you drink enough water? Like, I get it. You want me to drink water.
I do.
Anyways, guys, do us a favor. Can you please rate, subscribe, and review our podcast? We get lots of internet points when you do that, so. Avery did a little ad tonight. I know you've heard Miracles, which is super cute. A little rap. A little. So Avery did one tonight. It was super fun to work with her on that. So I'm excited to try to find a spot to put it in there. So
we should have do one together.
I know. Oh, well, yeah, because you had told me don't let her listen to Miracles because you wanted it to be just original. But now that they're both done, they should listen to each other's and then, do one.
Well, we have a Crocker Teary reunion coming soon.
Yeah, we do.
So that could give the girls a project.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, that's
just a thought.
That is a good idea.
The boys can do one.
What? Oh.
The boy children.
Yeah. Stefan would be fine. Sully would be like, bah. Try to spike it. Spike the levels.
It'll be fine.
All right. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Like us and rate us.
Review us.
Josh Maringa.